The call came through at exactly 7:42 p.m. on a Tuesday, the kind of precise detail that lodges itself permanently in memory. I remember because I checked my watch when the silence afterward felt wrong. Too heavy, too deliberate. I was sitting on the cream sectional in the living room of our house. Well, his living room, if you asked Preston. The divorce papers were still spread across the coffee table where he had tossed them moments earlier, the edges curling slightly against the marble surface. He hadn't handed them to me, he had thrown them like a challenge, like a dare, as if I were expected to flinch. Preston was pacing, back and forth, back and forth. He held a crystal tumbler filled with amber scotch that cost more than my first car, swirling it like a prop. His face was flushed, not with emotion, but with that familiar cocktail of arrogance and self-congratulation I had once mistaken for ambition. He picked up his phone. He didn't step into another room. He didn't lower his voice. He turned on speaker. He wanted witnesses, Colonel, Preston said, his voice dripping with condescension. Yeah, it's Preston. I already knew who he was calling. My stomach didn't drop. It went cold and still. Look, I'm done. I'm sending Miranda back. She's dead weight at this point. You know, I've outgrown the asset. Come pick up your daughter. I need the master suite cleared by 9. Dead weight, not sadness, not grief. What I felt was disbelief at the sheer, breathtaking audacity of a man who thought proximity to power meant ownership of it. My father's voice came through the speaker, calm, controlled, lethal. The same voice that had commanded battalions and ended conversations without raising its volume. Dead weight, my father repeated, not a question. Yeah. Preston laughed, taking a leisurely sip of his scotch. Dead weight, I need a partner, not a passenger, so come get her. There was a pause, a silence so dense it felt like the air before a thunderstorm breaks. All right, Preston, my father said evenly, I'll be there in 30 minutes. Preston ended the call and turned to me with a smug grin, already victorious in his own mind. See, he said, even your daddy knows when to fold. Pack your bags, Miranda. You're leaving. I looked at him. I really looked at him, at the man I had spent 15 years building, polishing, protecting, and positioning. The man whose career had been scaffolded by my labor, my money, my silence. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I didn't feel small. I checked my watch, 7:44 p.m. You have 28 minutes, I said quietly. For what? He sneered. To cry, no, I replied, crossing my legs and leaning back into the sofa he thought he owned. To enjoy the last 28 minutes of being a rich man, he laughed. He had forgotten something, one very small, very critical detail about our life together. Preston didn't build the empire he was so proud of. My father did, and the dead weight he was so eager to discard was the only thing keeping him from drowning. My name is Miranda Kingsley. I'm 42 years old, and for the last decade and a half, I have been the invisible hand behind the most successful luxury real estate developer in Dallas. To the outside world, I'm the trophy wife, the woman who lunches at the country club, organizes charity galas, and selects drapes for multimillion-dollar spec homes. I'm the Highland Park housewife with perfect hair, perfect pearls, and perfect silence. We live or lived in a French chateau-style estate on Armstrong Avenue that Zillow estimates at $2 million. My closet is lined with emerald silk and Italian cashmere. My calendar is filled with board meetings I'm not technically supposed to attend, but somehow always influence. And my husband, Preston Kingsley, age 45, is the face of Kingsley Developments. He's the one on magazine covers. The one giving interviews about grit, hustle, and bootstraps. He loves the narrative, the self-made man, the titan of industry. What he forgets is that 15 years ago, he was a broker with a suspended license and $40 in credit card debt. Banks wouldn't touch him. The seed money for his first project didn't come from a loan officer. It came from a trust. My trust, administered by the man Preston refers to when he thinks I can't hear, as the fossil, my father. Colonel Edward Thorne, Preston sees my father as an aging checkbook. He sees me as a decorator with an unlimited credit limit. Accessories. He never realized accessories can be dangerous, especially when you forget who actually owns the set. Our marriage wasn't always a war zone, at least not at first. We met when I was 27. He was charming in that aggressive sales guy way, big dreams, empty pockets. I was the interior designer on a project he was trying to broker. We bonded over blueprints and ambition. I saw potential, raw clay. My father saw a con artist. He's hollow. Dad told me 2 days before the wedding. We were sitting in his study, surrounded by leather-bound books and the smell of cigar smoke. He echoes whatever he thinks you want to hear. There's nothing inside. You're wrong. I said, adjusting my veil. He works hard. He just needs a break. So you want me to give him that break? I want you to invest in us, I said. Not him, us, and he did, because he loved me. Because since my mother died, he hadn't denied me anything within his power to give. He structured Kingsley Developments. He provided capital for the first 3 acquisitions, but he did it with conditions. Conditions Preston signed without reading. I remember that day vividly, a humid Tuesday in July, my father's attorney's office, mahogany, intimidation, silence. Dad sat at the head of the table. Preston buzzed with excitement, already talking ROI and vision to no one in particular. This is standard stuff, right, Colonel? Preston asked, reaching for the pen before the document had even finished sliding across the table. There's nothing standard about a $5 million unsecured line of credit, Dad replied evenly. Of course, Preston waved him off. Reputation is everything. That's my brand. He didn't read a single page. He flipped to the signature line, maybe read it. I suggested gently, I trust your dad, he said, smiling. Lawyers complicate things, I execute. He signed hard, dramatic loops, a signature that demanded space it hadn't earned. Dad didn't blink. You understand, Dad said, closing the folder, that this binds you to a code of conduct. You are a steward of family resources, not an owner, like a ship captain. Preston laughed. Just don't sink it. Dad replied. Preston promised. He lied. For 15 years, we built the company. I designed the soul of every property, the psychology that allowed us to sell 40% above market value. Preston shook hands and gave interviews. It worked, until success fed his ego faster than it fed his integrity. He stopped asking for my input. He started calling my father the old man. I ignored it. I told myself it was stress. It wasn't, it was contempt. My mother died when I was 7. Ovarian cancer, fast, brutal. My father filled the void with discipline and protection. Kingsley women don't cry, he told me. He taught me how to read financial statements before fairy tales. The greatest victory requires no battle, he used to say, but if you must fight, make sure you're the only one left standing. When I married Preston, Dad stepped back, not in anger, but in strategy. He never stopped watching. Every year on my mother's birthday, he sent a handwritten letter. Last year's read, do not confuse kindness with weakness. One is a gift, the other is a target. I hid that letter under a diamond bracelet Preston gave me for missing our anniversary. The signs were everywhere, the rebranding, the PR firm, my gradual erasure, then Aspen. Then my credit card declined. Then the gala, stick to curtains, he said, your decoration. That night I didn't cry, I calculated. The real end began on Tuesday, October 14th at 2:30 p.m. I went to surprise him at the office. I heard his laugh. I heard her voice, Jessica Sterling, 26. I hired her. She's dead weight. Preston said, an anchor. He had moved the money. He thought I was clueless. He was wrong. I walked out. I called my father. You were right. I said, I'm listening. He replied, that night we assembled the truth. Zoe Layden, forensic auditor, Hunter. Shell companies forged signatures, $2. 4 million offshore. He was planning to disappear. Dad stood up. Call Alexandra, he said, the original agreement, the one with the character clause. Then he turned to me. He thinks you're dead weight. A pause. Let's show him how heavy we are. The next 3 days unfolded like a controlled demolition, quiet, precise, irreversible. I went home that night and played my role flawlessly. I cooked dinner. I asked Preston about his day. I listened as he lied about the merger stress and smiled when he said, "This deal changes everything. I'm so proud of you," I told him, pouring his wine. "You built this all by yourself." He believed it. Worse, he needed to believe it. While Preston preened, Alexandra Stone went to work. 60 years old, always in Chanel, with a reputation for reducing opposing counsel to silence. She reviewed Zoe's findings once and smiled. "This isn't just divorce," she said. "This is fraud, embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty. We can end his career and his freedom. I don't just want to sue him," I said calmly. "I want him to understand," Dad nodded. "The merger is Friday. He thinks that's his escape hatch, but it requires the majority shareholder's signature," Alexandra added. "He believes that's him," I said. Dad reached into his briefcase and pulled out a yellow document. "Read Section 14, Paragraph C." I did. "In the event of provable gross misconduct, all voting shares held by the managing partner immediately reverted to the primary investor, Thorne Enterprises." He signed this. I whispered. "He never read it," Dad replied. "He was too busy counting money he hadn't earned." Technically, Preston had stopped owning the company the moment he stole his first dollar. The house, Zoe confirmed, was a corporate asset, bought through Kingsley Developments, classified as a retreat for tax purposes. "If he's fired," she said, "he's trespassing." Dad leaned back. "Miranda, you'll open the door. He expects tears. He won't get them." "I'll wear the green dress," I said. "The emerald silk, the one he hated, the one he said made me look aggressive, be aggressive," Dad said, smiling. Tuesday came faster than Preston expected. He came home early, drunk on victory and scotch. He didn't want to wait until after the party to discard me. He wanted the house cleared first. That's when he made the call. 7:42 p.m. "Come pick up your daughter. She's dead weight." At 8:12, he started pacing again. "You should have seen this coming," he said. "I'm a unicorn, your legacy infrastructure. You slow me down." "Is that what you tell Jessica?" I asked. His glass paused midair. "How do you know about Jessica?" "I know about the Caymans." I said. "About Apex, I've known for 5 days." He laughed. "So what? I win, you lose, you're weak, just like your old man." "My father isn't weak," I replied. "He's patient." The doorbell rang. Preston frowned. "The movers are early." "No," I said, standing. "They're right on time." He opened the doors. 3 black SUV idled in the driveway. My father stood on the porch, cane in hand, not for balance, but effect. Alexandra beside him. 2 private security guards behind them. Preston laughed thinner now. "This is dramatic." "I'm not here to take Miranda anywhere," Dad said, stepping inside. "You can't just walk in," Preston snapped. "This is my house." Alexandra opened her folder. "Actually, this property is owned by Kingsley Developments LLC, which I own," Preston said. "Not anymore," she replied, handing him the operating agreement. "You triggered the default clause," I said softly. "Fraud, embezzlement, moral turpitude." Dad met his eyes. "I own the company. I always did. I just let you pretend." Preston's face drained of color. "You can't do this," he stammered. "Miranda, tell them." "I thought I was dead weight," I said. "Remember." "And since you're no longer an employee," Alexandra added, "your presence here constitutes trespassing. You have 5 minutes," one of the guards said. Preston lunged toward my father. The guard intercepted him effortlessly. "Get him out," Dad said, already turning away. They dragged Preston Kingsley, visionary, titan, fraud, out of the house he thought was his kingdom. Jessica arrived just in time to watch him hit the pavement. "Miranda," Preston screamed, "help me." "I can't," I replied evenly. "I'm just dead weight." I closed the door. The fallout was surgical. Alexandra delivered the evidence to the district attorney. The offshore funds were frozen. Apex collapsed overnight. Fraud debts aren't dischargeable. Jessica disappeared within 4 days. I became CEO. We rebranded. Within a year, profits doubled, mostly because no one was siphoning money to mistresses and vanity projects. 5 years later, I pulled up to a steakhouse downtown in my own Maserati. The valet opened my door. "Good evening, ma'am." I recognized the voice. The name tag read, Preston Trainee. He looked older. "Smaller. Keep the ticket." I said, handing him $20, and be gentle with the clutch. It works better without extra weight, Miranda, he said softly. I really messed up. You thought I was the problem, I said, but I wasn't the weight, I was the engine. I walked inside. Freedom smells better than money. There's an old saying, be careful who you step on while climbing. They may be the one holding the ladder. Preston forgot that gravity works both ways. And when you cut the weight that's anchoring you, you don't fly. You fall. My name is Miranda Kingsley, and I'm finally traveling.